Welcome, Chimosabis. It's another edition of 30 with Tony. We got the best news, the bossest music, and the most amazing classic clips. Did you see that idiot Chris Murphy? Let me tell you, if I were on your side of the earth, I would call up my lead croc, Gordon Liddy, and he would end this very quickly. That name, the Dirty Tricks Gang, was not given for laughs. But don't despair, we've got a lot of hope now, and let's get it on Chimosabis. It's alright.
What you're about to see is a real-life story, taken from the files of the police racket and bunco squads, business protective associations, and similar sources all over the country. It is intended to expose the confidence game, the carefully worked-out frauds by which confidence men take more money each year from the American public than all the bank robbers and thugs with their violence.
Well, hi, Kemosabe's. It's Tony D'Angelo. It is March 19th, 2026. I had to look at the day, 3 p.m. Eastern. Welcome to another edition of 30 with Tony. Man, this has been a week. Thank you for being here. Thank you for all of your great comments and circulations on last week's show. And thank you for all the great work you are doing here to make a free people maintain themselves as a free people, because government ain't helping. Let me tell you that much. Excuse me, clearing my throat. And I'm just ever so grateful. People have been asking me about the National exposure or the national opportunity with 30 with Tony. We are currently setting up a direct link with Talk Red Media. I will have that information for you. And this is a great program. The Lee Elsey Show is on it. I believe Wayne Allen Root is on it. So people are going to get to see, get this, they're going to get to see 30 with Tony and what happens in Connecticut all over the country, all over the world. And it's about time because the politicians and a lot of the tomato throwers on Twitter will do anything they can to stop our work from getting out. But guess what? It's going to be getting out, and there ain't nothing you can do about it, as the Supremes would say. Tuffy the mouse on you. Anyway, welcome. Thank you. And today I'm going to hit on a number of subjects. And I think I'm going to call this segment Them Versus You. You know, many times I've said on the Lee Elsey Show, and I've said on this show, and I say in conversation, there really is, you know, when you look at, shall we say, the Connecticut system and the average non-connected Connecticut person, they really are their own world. And I'm not saying everybody there is a rat, and I'm not saying everybody there is a, you know, a backstabber or whatever, but there's a lot of them. And the fact of the matter is that when it comes to the interests of the legitimate citizen, not the legitimate legislature or the legitimate, who is representing the people out there? That's what I want to know. Now, you can have varying viewpoints. As I was saying yesterday, I miss the sane Democrat. Not that I would agree with them on everything, but they had some good ideas. I had some good ideas, and we could come to a solution. Where does a sane Democrat go these days? Where does John Fetterman go these days, who's really been quite a stalwart ever since he got off the drugs and got away from the stupid wife? And where does Bobby Kennedy go? Where does Tulsi Gabbard go? Well, they go to the Trump administration because that's aligning more with sanity as opposed to absolute insanity. But all of that said, when you look at Connecticut government, the state of Connecticut is the largest employer in Connecticut. Money flies out all kinds of different way by the should be abolished Department of Economic and Community Development. The reason it doesn't get abolished is because people on both sides of the aisle are profiting from what goes out there, or they buy political influence. You saw that last week with the Community Investment Fund, the piece we did here, the written piece that Bob Swick did. Thank you for referencing the show. It got a lot of views because of that. I don't want the recognition. What I do want is the information to come out to you. And I'm also very grateful today for Elon Musk, who has made this a free platform. Now, being a free platform, you've got to take the good with the bad, and you got to take the cranks and the tomato throwers and the losers, the backstabbers, the conspiracy theorists, and the bums along with you, realizing that you are not perfect. But I really, I can't tell you about this week. We've been dealing with power outages, system outages because of the power outages. Eversource doing things, getting things back online because they are the politically connected gorilla and you are not. And that's really, you know, fighting through all of that. We're up here, we're on both wings, and we're going to hit it today. And I'm ever so grateful to God. God is always there, regardless of what the system is doing, regardless of what the people are doing to you, regardless of what the politicians are doing to you. But I'm going to start off today with, let me just start off where I'm going to start off. And you'll see where I'm headed. I'm going to go to here, and I'm going to go to here. And in our power outage on Tuesday, now, you know, we were okay here in Pomfret Base Camp because we have a generator, but unfortunately, since Eversource took 39,000 years to get out and fix the power issues, you know, they do all kinds of tree cutting, and every time they do more tree cutting, we have more power outages. Pat Boyd, are you looking into that? You probably are not. But that being as it is, we had to go by the good old copper landline to do the Lee Elsey show. And one of the things we talked about, and that tape is available, you'll find it on my page and you'll find it on several others. It's getting surprisingly, I know people like to look at my ugly mug, but it's getting surprisingly a lot of listens, for which I'm grateful. But we talked about the horrible state of debt and stupidity that Connecticut is in. And I don't think there's one political person out there on either side of the aisle that gets the gravity of the situation. Like, I don't know if you watch Fox News. Kathy Hochul, who's got to be one of the dumbest politicians ever to inhabit a dress or a pantsuit or a business suit or whatever, governor of New York 3 years ago, told people who might believe like me, I don't know what you believe, and most people who will watch this show believe like me or similar to me, told living in New York to get out of the state. We don't need you. We don't want you. You do not believe what we believe. Now, 3 years later, the moron is at a Politico event, I believe she was, and she's actually going to be sending people down to Florida, where all the New Yorkers went, and say, don't you want to come back to New York? Don't you want to come and support our wonderful social programs? I mean, guilting them out, basically, for doing the right thing and getting away from her crazy rear end. But basically, that's the mindset you get. Now, I venture to say 85% of the Connecticut state legislature has a mindset like Kathy Hochul. The other 15% don't have any sort of fiscal mindset, from what I can see, but yet they might be more concerned about the fact if you go to them and you don't never put your hands on them. Okay, never ever put your hands on them. But when I say beat, I mean beat figuratively. Them saying how the crushing nonsense in the state and is just driving you and your neighbors out. They might be a little bit more, shall we say, sympathetic to that and to listen to that. But they do not get what is happening there. Basically, they want to be the hometown hero, talking about legislators, go back to their district and say, look at all the stuff I gave you. Aren't I cool? Ain't I right? Hey, elect me again. The Community Investment Fund is a perfect example of that, because what do you see on that board? You see Senator Harding, you see Representative Candelora in shall I say, an 18-minute backslapping meeting. It is on CTN. And you see the DECD, and you do not see anybody like me or you saying, well, why are you letting this organization just continue to they've got no, their executive director makes these vague references to, we have better internal controls and as he's doing a whole bunch of other stuff like, facilitating HB1 visas and driving American workers more out of work than they already are. And they're all there saying, hey, this is great. We're developing the community. And this is after the bonding that we talked about here and on the Lee Elsey show in February. So it's like, don't come to me with, you want to fix fraud and there is a culture of corruption. Yes, there is. And you're going to be fiscally responsible. You're not confronting the people who caused the harm, which is still under federal investigation and is, shall we say, ongoing, because there ain't nothing right now stopping it. We'll get to that in just a moment. But when all of that kind of comes together, my question is, are they just going to run us into bankruptcy? And it sure looks that way. And if you look at those community investment fund projects, not one of them would be anything that would benefit you unless you are a union member or unless you are a politically connected builder. That's it. Has nothing to do, won't help you pay your electric bill, won't help you keep your business and employ your people. And you may be like me. You're not looking for a handout. You're just looking for a better environment so you could go out and slay the fatted calf. That's all I've ever asked for. maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I should have sat there all these years and just sucked political scum, basically. And that's, what so many people do. But anyway, Hartford, Connecticut, which had a massive state bailout due to idiocy, greed, stupidity, people leaving, crime. There's nothing. Listen, God bless the good people of Hartford, but there is nothing attractive about Hartford. Nobody will come to Hartford with a bold new endeavor unless the bribe is so incredibly big that they will come there, suck up the money, and then leave, basically. So they want to borrow more money. And what I said on Tuesday, and I talking to my trust clients and talking to other people, if you have a financial account and there is a lot of institutional pressure, let me give you a little, put it this way, a little bit off the plate here. There's a lot of institutional pressure with typically here I'm dealing with major financial providers because that's because we need the asset security of them for all the for all the social commentary you might want to say about that. I'll probably double you, but basically there is a lot of institutional pressure from the state to the bond salesman to the brokerage offices saying sell these Connecticut bonds, but they're horse crap, sell them. And when I, as an officer, turn to the investment manager and say, I want you to get rid of that Connecticut bond, oh, man, I don't know if you ever saw, and listen, I talk in historical terms. I do not intend to insult anybody. There was a black character actor back in the days of like the 30s and 40s known as Stepin Fetchit. And he would typically play, using the term of the day, okay, don't call me a damn racist. He would typically play the very slow-witted, slow-moving black character, of which decent black people were offended at his characterization. But the thing is that is undeniable. Stepin Fetchit in the movies was probably the slowest moving person that ever lived, other than government and some other things. But anyway, you talk about moving like Stepin Fetchit when you say, get rid of those bonds. You can't find the advisor. I got to talk to my manager, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. You're invoking the trade agreement and all this other sort of stuff because, they're saying, or by doing that, they feel their butter is buttered by the state. So now the state's going to try to push $50 million of more bad debt on top of, or Hartford, on what they did. And all I'm really saying is, if you read, and I'm not talking the Connecticut Insider, and I'm not talking the Hartford Courant, and I'm not talking the Connecticut Post or the Norwich Bulletin, but if you read and see in the national news, there is a huge problem with municipal bonds of blue states. Big issue in New York. Big issue in New York. Why is there a big issue in New York? Because Mondami is the mayor and people are leaving and Mondami wants to raise taxes. And people don't even want to go to New York anymore to do anything. So guess what? You're not going to New York. You're not taking the subway. You're not taking the bridge. You're not taking the train. And that revenue ain't there. Those bonds, which used to be golden, which used to be great, safe investments, are now selling at a market discount. Now, mention that to your garden variety Connecticut legislator or state senator, and you're probably going to get as much understanding on that as I might give you about trying to build a neutron bomb. It's sickening. It's just, let's just go borrow and spend and borrow and spend. And the more we spend, finally, we're going to spend our way out of debt. We're just going to do it. It's going to happen. It's going to be wonderful. So that's number one. Number two, there's, I think, 5 people running for governor. How do they feel about this? Do they understand it? Do they know what's happening? Do they see this debt bomb? Really, it's when does it come to the point where the state can't pay the interest on its bonds? And don't tell me this ain't going to happen, because it's happened before. It happened in Johnstown, Rhode Island. It happened in Hershey, Pennsylvania. It happened, I think, in one other place, and I'm sure some others, where the municipal bonds defaulted. When I was a kid, the Penn Central, which is not a not a municipal organization, but quote unquote revenue support, that defaulted. There's no guarantee on these municipal bonds, basically. And then when the money in the market looks at them and says, well, maybe they can pay their debt for a time, but we're going to put them out at a price, that's below market. And then if you need to sell this bond, you're going to get even less than that, because the quote unquote, the greater fool is now a little wiser, and he won't give you as much as you paid. It's like any other market. So here we go. And here it is. And I don't hear anybody talking about this politically. The Democrats are hopeless. The Democrats are useless. The Democrats will continue to do as they do. The Democrats have the clear fiscal mind of Kathy Hochul. But I'm talking to 3 Republican candidates. I think Betsy McCoy would be the only one that would really grasp what I'm saying, basically, and grasp it conceptually and fully. My opinion. But she needs to know about this. Ryan Fazio, hey, I'm telling you, okay? What are your thoughts, Ryan? I understand you work in the financial industry or financial services industry. What will you do about this debt bomb? Is this okay? I'm not really hearing anything. Maybe because I haven't heard. But this is real, folks. This is real. And all I'm really saying is not picking on the candidates in as much as I am. This is not front page news, and it needs to be. If your deadbeat brother-in-law, to me, in-laws are, this is my own life. I'm not going to criticize yours. I don't know you. I know some of you. But my own life, I have considered in-laws to be the lowest life form. And I will put myself in that definition reciprocally. So when that happens, this is like your deadbeat brother-in-law asking you for just another loan on another deal that's going to take him to the top. How do you feel? This is really the way they're looking at Connecticut these days on a global scale fiscally. Okay. Them versus you. Let's take a look at this. A Twitter commentator, maybe not one of the ones that was as close to some of the others that I speak to, but a very astute and perceptive individual was talking about this particular occurrence this morning. The young gentleman here to the right, his name is Andre Baumgartner. He is yet another Connecticut state representative who was drunken driving. And he has gone through the program of accelerated rehabilitation. And according to this article, which is carried by Yahoo, his DUI case is dismissed after completing his diversionary program. And he's continued to represent whatever part of the state he represents. I believe it's somewhere in southeastern Connecticut. The gentleman here, not meaning to point, but just so you know, who is his attorney, is Judge John Nazaro. Now, Judge John Nazaro, I do not know. He is a contributor Fridays on the Lee Elsey show. And listening to the gentleman, he has a very long and diverse career as a litigator, a judge, a journalist, and he is a popular guest on the show. And basically, when Mr. Baumgartner had his DUI, he went to Mr. Nazaro, who obviously is well connected within the state. I'm speaking factually, and said, represent me in this thing. And ostensibly and apparently, Attorney John Nazaro did his job, and now Baumgartner is out free among us. Now, you can say this is fine. You could say this is wonderful. Some of you might want to criticize Judge John Nazaro, which of course is your right. I will tell you two things as far as that is concerned. I do not know Judge John Nazaro or Attorney John Nazaro, if you prefer, but I will tell you two things. Number one, it is not the job of the lawyer to question the, shall we say, the morality of his client. You are defending people according to the law, and it's not how you feel about the law, it's what the law says, and every person is entitled to a defense. Now, if it were me, if you can turn me into James Brown, I got you, babe, or I feel good. I got you, babe was Cher or Sonny, and I would be executing drunken drivers. To me, drunken drivers are, you talk about me. This is a life form to me that's lower than in-laws. Okay, it's just me. Go ahead, hate my guts, love me, I don't care. But basically, I would every week I'd have an execution. And you could argue that because these people kill people and ruin lives for decades, over and over and over, and they are coddled by the political system, and they're coddled by the insurance company, where every time somebody screws up with a car, it's an excuse to raise rates. People often say to me, or they call up the Lee Elsey show, and they say, but what about all the reckless driving that's going on? And, people will come on and police will come on and boo-hoo that, and, the police accountability bill, and. They always leave out the insurance lobbyists, who basically will fight continually against a stricter drunken driving prohibition, because that's where they make the money, honey. So that's the part you don't hear about. But all I'm really saying is, I look now in the state legislature, I see people fighting for their lives. They're fighting for their bodies. They're fighting for their children. They're fighting for their rights to have a business, hold government accountable, hold people to a high standard. And what we're seeing right now is a total and complete railroading, to the point where people were like, well, what is the point of us redressing our grievances when people aren't listening? In other words, they are the people. Government is supposed to work for them. They're going one way. Government's going entirely in its own direction, because it is a situation of them versus you, especially in the Connecticut state legislature. So your average person looks at this and says, well, because regardless of how the law is written, regardless of how it's framed, regardless of where this all comes down, it's like, well, if I screwed up like that, I would not get an Andre deal. I could not pay John Nazaro. I would not have the support of the community. I would not have people who would be patting me on the head and say, well, you have a problem and you have an issue like Robin Comey, and you go and fix it, and we're going to move on, and the system works. They would just as soon throw me or you in the gutter, because we do not have those resources. We do not have those connections. We do not have that, as we say in the tax law, imprimatur. And basically, showing this right now, me showing you this picture, if you've been fighting your brains out in the legislature against overbearing, domineering, egg-sucking dog, communist oppression, this is a justifiable red flag before a bull. I make no statement whatsoever as to Judge Nazaro. He's doing his job. But basically what I am saying is, if this does not have great unspoken overtones, and you tell me that, you are a bigger liar than this old carpet under my feet. That's basically what it is. I have heard a respected police officer say, who was in the other side of the party, who considers Andre a friend, and said that if I found Andre drunk, I would take him home. Well, aren't you sworn to your oath? Should you not arrest Andre? And that went on. And do you see what I'm saying? them versus you. This is the impression, or shall I say, can you tell me this is not them versus you and saying this, and this is a wonderful thing? This set me off. It set off a whole bunch of other people today on X, and I felt it needed to be called attention to. But anyway, when we're talking about them versus you, how about this? Here is your former New Haven police chief of police, Carl Jacobson. This was a guy who was crying for the rights of illegals to roam among us. This was a guy who basically was saying that he wasn't going to cooperate with ICE. He wasn't going to do anything. He was not going to follow federal law. Listen, right now, I've got clients here who followed federal law and are fighting off the federal government, basically. But this guy was like, it doesn't matter. He gets his pension and he's back in court. And he's still among us. And let's read down a little bit what's happening with Chief Jacobson. This is the New Haven Independent, Paul Bass's publication. His accusations: he stole $81,000 from a police confidential informants fund. 81,000. He stole that much. You mean that fund is bigger? I mean, do you have thinking detectives, or you just throw money? And he took 4,000 from the PAL, police chief, and they finally confronted him, and he says, "I have a problem. We're supposed to be sympathetic towards him." Meanwhile, he's robbing the till. He gets his pension and doesn't want to enforce the law with respect to federal law and illegal aliens. But you try doing what Chief Jacobson did and see what happens to you. Okay? That's all I'm saying. Time will not permit us to go into the nuances of this case, but you need to know about that. When you're fighting for your life in the Connecticut State Legislature and wherever you happen to be fighting, on Twitter, on the radio, whatever, and when you see that, please don't tell me there is not a trend, and a trend of them versus you. Okay, let's look at this here. This is an article, Inside Investigator. A state Senator Lopes has been paid, and this is a Rick Lopes who owns, I believe, a cleaning concern, and he was paid by a New Britain nonprofit which receives its money from state sources, $1.6 million since 2018. Now, ostensibly, Senator Lopes is employing other people, and other people are involved in that sort of thing. But basically, what you have going on here is your basic, and we can get highly technical about the legal definitions of what is racketeering and what is money laundering and what is, shall we say, another fine example of the, shall we say, the DECD spigot and the Douglas McCrorys, and we're going to fix the culture of corruption by not having any transparency whatsoever in these nonprofits that essentially are sieves where people hand money to their buddies, vote buying machines. The only candidate that gets that for governor is Betsy McCoy, and she gets it clearly because she dealt with it in New York. But basically, again, I'm calling the balls and strikes. This is what went on. Now, ostensibly, this is going on right during the time of Douglas McCrory and right during the time of, we're going to look at a couple of others, God knows what else. And nobody really says anything. Nobody really, this is, quote unquote, blockbuster news, according to the Inside Investigator. And yes, it is serious. But I want you to focus on one thing. This is a snip of a tax return. And, Richard Lopes, DBA, XL Office Cleaning, 2 corporations, and this would have been the, I'm sure I see Inside Investigators caught on to what we do, the 2021 990s, and he's getting it here from 2 sources. Now, it's basically, I want you to look at one thing that's critical here. I've got to find it, unfortunately. I thought I had it. Okay. We supposedly have ethics laws in this state. The Office of Connecticut Ethics. The Office of Connecticut Ethics that said it was perfectly okay for Ned and Ann Lamont to be involved with a company that all of a sudden started doing COVID testing of citizens and to pick up revenues and, oh, yeah, do genetic testing of kids and get paid by state money. And there is no direct conflict in that, and a host of other things. And they also said that the other deals of which have been, shall we say, influence deals, like Infosys and things like that. We don't get involved with that. That's because state money is involved. Well, Peter Lewandowski, who essentially, in my estimation, over the years has been like Inspector Renaud in Casablanca, was confronted with this thing with Rick Loves. And he said, it's not an ethical violation and does not require disclosure because his companies are not directly contracting with the state. Okay. So this means that if I want to, if I'm doing the rackets and I don't want to look like I'm shaking down somebody, I pay somebody to quote unquote do the shakedown for me, and I get the benefits of that. But since I'm not directly involved in the shakedown, I'm not accountable. This is what you're dealing now. Now, this, put it this way. Consider this, and come back to here. I asked the question here. I asked the question on the Lee Elsey show. I asked the question wherever I go. We supposedly have, we're going to look at that in a moment. We supposedly have something in this state known as a Republican Party. Why does no political party, it's almost unfair to pick on Republicans, why does no political party have anything to say about the, use the term again, overbearing, domineering, egg-sucking dog administrative state of Connecticut? When Katie Dykes was coming at us with her bird-brained ECAR idea, the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, I was screaming about that. Why aren't Republicans down Katie Dykes' case? They never are. Why aren't they doing it? Why does somebody like Peter Lewandowski continue to get paid by the state of Connecticut to give us ethics like this? Where is the investigation? How many other people are involved? I got a couple for you this afternoon. But where, how, what, do the words conflict of interest, undue influence, impropriety, appearance of evil, does any of that register in Connecticut? Well, if you go to here and if you go to here and now we're over here, you got to ask yourself the question. Plus, there's no legislator screaming about this. Maybe they'll start and they'll say, oh, yeah, this is terrible. And they'll come on and tell us everything, but they'll never say, we've got to fix the ethics system. And maybe we got to get rid of some people like the Peter Lewandowskis of the world who make these kind of judgments to the detriment of us all. This is something out of a 1930s gangster movie. Okay. You want gangster? I got more gangster. Hang on for just a sec. Them versus you. Some of you know this lady. Her name is Jan Hockadell. She is an engineer, educator, and politician, and she is a state senator. She is a huge lobbyist for the American Federation of Teachers, or a huge cheerleader, or a huge, shall I say, pom-pom person. And she sits on the Senate, and she sits in a very high pinnacle of the American Federation of Teachers. Now, the American Federation of Teachers local chapter, as we know, there are big complaints what goes on in the schools with the DEI and all the things that that you have seen in the schools, the men and women's sports, the Randy Weingartens. Let's close the thing down because somebody had a cough. On and on and on and on. So it is safe for me to say that the teaching community, which basically, in my estimation, has turned out to be a jobs program to a large extent, is at adverse interest against the people, them versus you. So when you look at the world of the Rick Lopes, when you look at the world of the Andre Baumgartners, which are maybe not so much related to that, it's like, why are we having people in our legislature? Again, I watch these things. I watch the Kate Prokop videos. I see people fighting for their very lives. Why do we tolerate this, shall we say, representation of interests, de facto lobbying by what you can do, but you're supposed to be a legislator of the people? Why do we tolerate that? Why is that acceptable? Why don't we hear politicians screaming about that? Well, obviously, a lot of them are ostensibly there for that very reason. But let's look at the American Federation of Teachers. Now, this is not an organization, to be clear, that would get a large charge of state money, but they can influence their brains out if they have somebody like a Janice Hockadell to pull the strings for them legislatively. Now, this is Judicial Influence Watch. It's a very, shall we say, extremely left-leaning organization. They've been involved in a Get Out the Vote campaign. And so basically, you got this person here who is we'll see how much she's involved. Actually, I think we can go right there now. I don't want to go to Eric Bertel just yet, but let me see if I can blow this up for you. She is very well compensated. Let me just see here. Janice Hockadell. Her salary, I believe this is 2022, so I'm sure she's making more now. $202,000, basically, wearing two hats, sitting in the legislature. Actually, she gets a legislative salary. I believe it's $58,000, but she can direct the puck to her, shall we say, lobbying activity at the AFT. So you're a person in her district, and she don't give a whit about you. This is where the bread gets buttered, people. That's basically what it is. So it's, and you're thinking, horrible, rotten Democrat, I'll agree with you, but think again. So it's when you have, Peter Lewandowski type ethics, it's because of some rule that legislatures crafted of themselves, you're not getting the money directly, you're not breaking anything. Substantively, what's happening is the person who is, shall we say, buying the fish is also the person selling the fish. This is amazing. And they support gun control. They are highly, 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 highly political. And their patron saint is the, shall we say, the former Secretary of Education, Miguel Cardona, and they're very close to the Attorney General. And they are also tied into labor, which, quote unquote, labor is one of the biggest influences in the state of Connecticut. After all, they want to have unemployment. They probably want us to go over and wash their cars for them. But this all kind of being as it is, this person is sitting there and she's making effectively $156,000, actually more, $200,000 a year, years ago, for being in a situation where she can influence the laws to that organization's benefit. I mean, I just looked at that this morning, and I said to myself, what is she going to do? I'm going to recuse my vote on anything that has anything to do with these people. Well, You got this great get out the vote campaign. You've got, you're making a large amount of money. If you recuse your votes, you can tell your buddies to vote for you. I mean, has anybody ever looked at this? Has anybody ever questioned? I'm sure people have, but obviously politicians seem to be making out very well in this deal. They don't want to question it. You know, they don't want to, quote unquote, be fiscally responsible, transparent, or represent their people if it comes against their interests. The Community Investment Fund and that whole thing last week proved it. Proved it. Why do we have people in bipartisan, unanimous agreement that are, you know, just blessing these projects left and right, and their communities are going to come back as heroes? Doesn't help you. Got nothing to do with you. Some of the projects are insults. You know, the Founders Plaza building in Hartford's now going to be housing. Why? Because you can't get a business to go in there. Welcome to the slums of the future. But anyway, it's like, if you can sit and direct your influence for your organization so that you can, quote unquote, have your salary paid by more dues and making more things better for them, ain't that a problem? Now, you're going to sit there and you're going to say to me, yeah, it's a horrible Democrat thing to do. I'd like to introduce you to this gentleman, Eric Berthel. He is a senior vice president of governmental affairs at Post University. Now, he is a deputy Senate Republican leader, and he is in the district that's Bethel, Bethlehem, Bridgewater, Brookfield, Middlebury, Oxford, Roxbury, Seymour, Sunbury, Washington, Watertown, and Woodbury, from where I'm sitting the other end of the state. He was elected to serve a fourth term. He is the ranking member of the Appropriations Committee's chair of the College Internship Committee. Now, he's employed as the senior vice president for governmental affairs for Post University in Waterbury, Connecticut. Now, Post University is not a nonprofit institution. They do not have a 990, but they do receive smaller amounts from the state of Connecticut. And he originally from Brooklyn, New York, and he's been in Connecticut a long time. He's bachelor's from Manhattanville College in Purchase, and he has been involved in the schools and so forth. And he is a vice president of governmental affairs at Post University. He also sits on the legislature. Now, aren't those, shall we say, opposing interests? If you're sitting as the vice president of governmental affairs and you can affair the government in your direction, or the possibility exists, is that not a problem? Is there not something terribly wrong with that, or potentially terribly wrong? I mean, is that, even though there isn't a conflict, should something like that occur? You know, should we have people in our legislature who in effect are, you know, shall we say, in their day jobs, getting, or influencing government that make their day jobs more fruitful, and the interest of the, shall we say, non-connected person goes unreported, unheard. Now, when you go, and I started to look at this, I started to grok it, actually, and I asked, why is Berthel there? Because there's not a lot of government money. And Grok tells me that, let me just blow this up a little bit. Berthel is at Post University precisely, I'm going to move my head, you probably can't see it, because direct state grants to the school are minimal. His job isn't to chase big taxpayer checks. The real value, he's there. Post makes money through tuition from working, blah, 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 blah. Berthel's role drives that revenue by signing big employers, including the state, to discounted tuition deals. Ain't that neat? So we have a Republican directing the puck too, and it's basically, how does this help those people who want to have homeschooling? How does this help people that don't want to see their kids get vaccinated with a poisonous substance in their estimation? And to me, that's a facts and circumstances test. I am very grateful for their work. I didn't realize there was so much bad crap in vaccines my entire life. But look at some of the things he's been involved with. This is why your politician does not want you anywhere near AI, because it exposes them. The State of Connecticut Employee Partnership, gee, must have drank a few beers on that. 20% tuition discount on all online credit bearing courses for state employees and their household. Huge built-in pipeline. Connecticut employs 50,000 people. No direct grants opposed, but steady paying students. Bertel is the government affairs points person. How about that? High School Academy, dual enrollment. Corporate workforce. I can send you this grok if you're interested. Deals with large Connecticut employers, Hartford Healthcare, Chambers of Commerce, credit unions. Turns companies into recruitment pipelines. The more you bring into a university, the better they love you. You ever wonder how somebody gets to be a university president? You say, boy, he's really kind of a dumb guy. How'd he get there? Because the money, honey. He's able to raise funds. Okay. As ranking member of higher education, he helps shape bills on online education, workforce grants, for-profit regulations, and veterans benefits. What does that have to do with the education of your kid? That's what I want to know. The university doesn't need big direct state checks when a sitting senator can deliver thousands of students through employer deals and keep the regulatory environment friendly. You think I wrote this? This is AI. And AI goes on. This is classic government relations role at a for-profit college, common nationwide. Yeah, it is a sad thing, but it's the fact of the matter is it's been so abused here. He discloses the income on his ethics filings, and it's the same gray area that I've been highlighting with Lopes and Hockadell, but here the profit vehicle is corporate partnerships and access. And so basically, I go back here to Lewandowski. And it's like, well, it doesn't really, it's not our thing because we don't deal with that. But you have a Hockadell situation, and she's making out like bank because she can draft and influence, shall we say, very teacher-friendly policies. Ask yourself something. People wanting homeschooling. Does Hockadell want homeschooling? No. Is Hockadell going to listen to you? She may. But basically, her interests are to keep her teachers employed, keep the dues flowing to that organization. And so she can have a nice either job or non-job, depending on what she does in her conflicted world. And again, $200 some odd thousand a year. Now, Bertel's kind of a different animal. He's getting shall we say, kudos for driving state business to his university, and he is paid a salary. We don't know what that salary is, and it's also it's a very cozy relationship, and it is the whole thing of wink, nod, look the other way. Now, let's look at this objectively. The state of Connecticut has employees that couldn't go to school and can get degrees. Is this the best deal for those employees? Are there other schools that can bid? If you go back to Rick Lopes, are there other cleaning companies that could do the job for less? Well, it's kind of difficult. Yeah, there probably are, and they might be able to do a better job. We don't know about that, but I think it's a valid question. But how do you get close to the pin when this guy here is, shall we say, in a very cozy situation to direct the funding to himself? How do you know you're getting the best of education and the right to educate your kid as you want when a very prominent state senator is sitting in the job of a, what exactly is she? She is a, let's see, Jen, she's the president. Hey, how about that? She beat a man. And when you are dealing in the state of Connecticut and say, well, is there an online university? Can the University of Phoenix do this better for us and a lot more cheaply and save taxpayer dollars? A little difficult when this guy here is sitting there wearing two hats. So, I mean, my personal thing, I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm an independent. I want to see honesty, integrity, and transparency in government. How is any of what I'm showing you good for you unless you somehow come in on one of these food chains? Is that a fair question? Correct me if I'm wrong. Now, I want to do, well, let me just see here. I can do this. I don't do this nearly as well as as I'd like. Let's review, and I'm going to I'll send you out with a thought actually, which I think is kind of humorous. This is a sickening situation. Hartford keeps borrowing. Hartford can't pay its debt, so it's borrowing more money. I don't hear any political figure screaming about this. I don't hear any political figure talking about the fiscal damage that government is doing, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger by the day. And how you know it's getting bigger, and here's a prime example. They can't pay their bills, they're looking to borrow more money. And I don't hear any candidate talking about that as to what they're going to do. Have some hope for Betsy McCoy, basically, that she might. This is a picture that speaks 1,000 words. Another state legislator, drunken driving, represented by a very well-connected man, and walks out with a promise to do better. This, I do not believe, even though the law would be achievable by people, it would not be as, shall we say, accessible as it is in this point. And what we do not see, and what we've never seen, again, now me, myself, and I hate drunken driving. I hate drunken drivers. I think the penalties are way too unsevere. Unsevere, I know, is not a word, but a lot of money in the liquor industry, a lot of money in the insurance industry, a lot of money in the judicial industry who like things where they are. But showing this picture as I'm showing it to you, it's almost like I feel those of you that have been beleaguered by the communistical actions of the Connecticut state legislature in recent days, this is like giving you a red flag, but unfortunately, it's a red flag that needs to be disclosed. We'll come over to here. The former police chief of New Haven, hand in the tills, got his pension. Horrible guy, and but it's the sort of thing that he's out walking among us, and he's got his money, and he how could I put it? If you're stealing from the till, it's not like you started yesterday. There's a story in the Bible about Judas Iscariot. Judas Iscariot was an apostle, and he was the treasurer for the apostles. And the other apostles knew that he had his hand in the till. And they knew he had his hand in the till for the duration of the mission. So this ain't any kind of new news that the guy decided one day, to break open the bank and jump in. But again, put yourself in that situation. Would you get such favor? Would you get your pension? Would you get people helping you in your mess? The situation with Rick Lopes, another legislator who is in, shall we say, questionable circumstances. When I was researching this morning, this has not yet risen to the level of a, shall we say, McCrory, because there haven't been any grand juries or subpoenas or anything like that. Some can argue that this is, it's all disclosed. He did it. And it's, it's just fine. But, again, we've got a guy who's profiting in a racketeering type money laundering thing with the state, who sits, in the catbird seat, as it will, of the legislature. And this is a guy who is a state senator. And this is a guy who, you were petitioning to for your kid for vaccines and for homeschooling. And look at what he's doing. Here's another one. Jan Hockettle, president of the local Federation of Teachers. Those of you guys who are fighting for homeschooling, if you want to look at what is the opposition, maybe you ought to take a picture, blow it up, and stick it on your wall. Because this person does not want to see her teachers, no matter how inept, no matter how politically connected, no matter how socially active, no matter how, shall we say, I don't know what the word is, but deficient in teaching the rudiments of education, wants to see that person employed much more than she cares about your kid, because she represents an organization as the president where she's getting well employed to keep teachers employed. Basically, it is a money machine paradise, and it's on and on we go. But to say that this whole thing of them versus you is not a entirely democratic thing, I want you to think about this relationship with Eric Bertel. And I know there's others. Just, Showtime did not permit me to look at all the others, and you may have some other ideas as you go. But when a person sits in that kind of a position and is making out very well by directing, shall we say, the state to do certain things that will fortify his job, is he concerned about, a legislative majority? Is he concerned about the rights of the people in his district to homeschool and to raise their kids in a healthful environment? Is that where he's focused? I don't know. But I would say, looking at this, I'd have to be quite concerned. And for my last thought, if you will, I wanted to, let me just see if I can move this. This is the St. Patrick's Day parade in New Haven. And a number of good people on Twitter were showing this picture of the esteemed state representative Rosa DeLauro walking around in Irish clothing, purple hair and all, talking about I think that's Henry Fernandez to her right. And if I'm right, Henry Fernandez is a long story. It looks like Chapel Street to me. And she was there blessing the people. And a couple of people said, well, where's the broom, and the typical things you hear. And, she looks like Margaret Hamilton, the Wicked Witch of the West. Let me tell you two things about Rosa. Number one, laugh at Rosa all you want. Rosa is a money machine. Money machine. You may not like where the money is spent, but she's got a couple, drunken loser cohorts in Congress who sit on appropriations, like Debbie Dingell, like Nancy Pelosi, and Rosa can again direct the puck where she wants it. Leonard Fasano, when he was a state senator, would often say that Rosa was good for Connecticut because she directs money here. And he said that a number of times. So that's why Rosa's there. And you could, people go on Twitter and they make fun of her and call her a witch and the purple hair and all that. It's the money, honey. That's why she's there. And when you see somebody running against her, basically a doorstop can get 40-45%. I often say to myself, well, why isn't there an effort to get that over the top? And there never really has been. No candidate ever running against her was unsupported. A couple of the people running against her, you wondered what the heck they were doing there at all. A couple of them couldn't get out of bed, but all of that kind of being as it is, the Rosa is still there because they don't like disturbing the money machine. But I want to focus on the witch part. She's the Wicked Witch of the West in The Wizard of Oz, and and it's that's who she is. I personally took umbrage to that, and I'm going to tell you why. Margaret Hamilton was a friend of my father's. This may not mean anything to you, but it means a lot to me. And I'm trying to think. I someday I'm going to write a book called 25,000 Meals with Maggie. This battered picture that Margaret Hamilton signed from my father when he was working on a show where Margaret was on. Margaret apparently is a darn nice lady. And let's see if I can blow Margaret up a little bit for you. Margaret played the Wicked Witch of the West in The Wizard of Oz. And you can see it here. To our Larry, one grand guy with my love and for a pleasant association of real classy lady, Margaret Hamilton. Great actress. And when you take Rosa DeLauro and you're telling me she has anything to do with Margaret Hamilton, I become intentionally insensitized. That was my family's friend. Now, truth be told, again, this is a warts and all show. I often said to my mother and father, it's like, hey, I got to look at Maggie every single time I'm having dinner. I mean, it's like, you couldn't have, like, Dad couldn't have worked with Ginger Rogers or Rhonda Fleming or Esther Williams or, Katharine Hepburn or no, I had to work with Maggie. But anyway, Maggie means a lot to me. And you can say that Rosa is the witch, but I may fight you on it. So I'll shut this down. And actually, I got to do it the right way. Let's see. Did I do it the right way? I don't know. Okay, I'm still on minimized. Okay, so let's do this. You cannot minimize while you are recording this meeting. So what did I do? Let's go back to share. And I'm going to go back to here and I'm going to go to share, get one more look. Now I'm going to stop the share. Now I know I'm back with you. So I hope you enjoyed this afternoon's show. We went through a lot, but I told you the truth as best as I know it. And that's what I intend to do for as long as I'm here to do this. It's Tony D'Angelo here in 30 with Tony. We'll be back with the rest of the show. And as Don Cornelius used to say on Soul Train, you bet your last money it's going to be a stone gas, honey, right after this.
There's a man at my house, he's so big and strong. He goes to work each day and he stays all day long. He comes home each night looking tired and beat. He sits down at the dinner table and has a bite to eat. Never a frown, always a smile when he says to me, how's my child? I said that I've been studying hard all day in school, trying very hard to understand the golden rule. I think I'll color this man father. Color him father. I think I'll color him love. Color him love. Said I'm gonna color him father. Color him father. I think I'll color the man love. Yes, I will. Color him love. He says education is the thing if you want to compete, because without it, son, life ain't very sweet. I love this man and I don't know why, except I'll need his strength until the day that I die. My mother loves him and I can tell by the way she looks at him when he holds my little sister Nell. I heard her say just the other day that if it hadn't have been for him, she couldn't have found her way. I think I'll color him father. Color him father. I'm gonna color him love. Color him love. I've got to color him father. Color him father. I think I'll color this man love. Color him love. Our real old man, he got killed in the war, and she knows she and 7 kids couldn't have gotten very far. She says she thought that she could never love again. And then there he stood with that big wide grin. He married my mother and he took us in, and now we belong to the man with that big wide grin. I've got to color this man father. Color him father. I'm gonna color him love. Color him love. I've got to color him father. Color him father. without color this man love. He's just been so good to me. I know I've got to color him love. I'm gonna color him father. I've got to color this man love. He's just been so kind. Yeah, I think I'll color him love. I'm going to color him father.
HMO Sobbies. It's the Trickster. It's time for a 30 with Tony Classic movie review. And here's Tony.
Well, thank you, Kemosabe's. Thank you for staying with us. The movie I'm about to show you today, or the one I'm about to preview, is a lost treasure. Probably some of the best actors ever to grace the Hollywood screen. And you don't hear much about it at all today. It is on the Internet Archive. It is visible for free. You can watch it or you can mirror it to your device. I was doing that over the weekend. And you are really in for a treat when you see this movie. Now imagine you got three guys who were something at some time, but they're nothing right now. You've got a police chief that wouldn't participate in a crime investigation. He was ousted. You've got an ex-con with nothing happening in his life whatsoever. And you have an entertainer of color who is in trouble with the bookies, and they all need money yesterday. And crime is involved, and New York City is involved, and it's gritty, and it's dirty, and it's real. And this is the movie featuring all of that. The operative question is, can you work with people whom you absolutely positively cannot stand when you need the money so bad there's no place else to turn? And here we go. It's got racism, it's got violence, and it's got grit, and it's taut, and it's suspenseful. And I keep telling you I'm going to show it to you, and I will. The movie is Odds Against Tomorrow. It was produced in 1959. It was an incredible, incredible movie. It's in black and white, starring Harry Belafonte, father of Sherry Belafonte to many, a incredibly noted historical figure, singer, dancer, actor, political activist, and a civil rights icon. Just a incredible, incredible, incredible talent. Robert Ryan, a stalwart actor, always played the tough guy. He was the colonel in The Dirty Dozen, a lot of westerns, and just a very gritty guy, and very, shall we say, a man that played a man. Now, interesting, Harry Belafonte was a passionate Democrat, and Robert Ryan was a stalwart Republican. I'm curious to see what their discussions were on the set. And Ed Begley, who was an older character actor who often played sinister parts. Now, Belafonte is the entertainer. Robert Ryan is the ex-con. Ed Begley is the police chief who has been dethroned. And here's the plot of the movie. David Burke, played by Begley, is a former policeman who was ruined. I said police chief, policeman. When he refused to cooperate with state crime investigators, he asked Earl Slater, played by Ryan, a tough ex-con, and a terrible, terrible, terrible racist. This is not a movie for snowflakes, to help him rob a bank, promising him $50,000 if the robbery is successful. Burke also recruits Johnny Ingram, who's Belafonte, a nightclub entertainer who doesn't want the job, but he's addicted to gambling and deeply in debt. Now, the tension between these two characters here, the Belafonte character and the Ryan character, is incredible. Ryan playing this movie, who is Earl Slater, is about the most bitter, angry racist you're ever going to see. Here's the poster of this movie, and it is extremely colorful, and it does give you the gist about what's going to happen. Unfortunately, whenever I do that, I make it smaller. There you go. And the acting quality of the people playing these parts of real, like, down and dirty, it's not happening the way I want it to, New York City, is superb. Now, the other players, Shelley Winters, what can you say about Shelley Winters? Really one of the most prominent stars in Hollywood history, playing everything from the glamour girl to the the dowdy spinster, and just a incredible legend. Gloria Graham, who was in MGM Beauty, playing a part in this movie, kind of as a psychotic housewife, really showing off her acting acumen. And a couple of the others. Now, Carmen de la Valde was a noted singer, dancer, choreography. Actually, she was more of a choreographer and an actress. And she was given Kennedy Center honors. Just passed on this past December, lived a good long life. And the person writing this work is Abraham Polanski, a great writer for gritty, down and dirty screenplays. Body and Soul, 1947, John Garfield. We'll do that here one of these days. And also in the past here, we've done Force of Evil with John Garfield, and that was about the numbers racket. So you're getting the gist of what happens here. So the operative question then becomes, these three guys in this movie, with all the marbles, and it's really suspenseful. They're going to go to some town in upstate New York, and they're going to rob it. And they're going to rob a bank, basically. It's a sleepy town. And it is a full-on, incredibly complex effort, practically foolproof until. Do these guys succeed or do they fail? And does their personal animosity for one another stop them in getting their objective done? I'm not going to spoil any of that for you, but I am going to direct you to the movie, which is absolutely positively a great movie to see. Cost you nothing. Again, if you're watching something on the Internet Archive, send them a few bucks, because if they don't survive, we can't see these films and we can't show them to you. And it's just great entertainment, really, you can have for just, instead of getting a $20 pizza, go to the supermarket and get a $10 pizza, give $10 to the Internet Archive once in a while. Maybe the next week over, you can have the $20 pizza. Got to keep the pizza makers happy, too. So, the film, Odds Against Tomorrow, made in 1959, starring Harry Belafonte, Robert Ryan, Shelley Winters, Ed Begley, and Gloria Graham. And I am going to send you to the trailer. You'll see what this really, that I'm not telling you a tale. It really is a great suspenseful movie. And after that, I'm going to send you to the movies.
You're crazy.
All right, so I'm crazy.
You're counting your fingers and toes. I'm talking about 50000.
I'll take that drink.
What makes you so big you can call me up to this dump and shoot off your mouth?
I got an idea, that's why, Slater. How would you like to pick up $50,000, all in small bills, just for yourself?
realized yourself, Ingram. You're just another black spot on Main Street.
Shut that ugly mouth of yours, Earl. Get in the car.
Someday I'm going to snap off your poisoned head.
Listen to me, Johnny.
Back up, Burke. The odds will never be right. I know how to handle him. I've been handling him all my life. He's no different because he got him a $20 pair of shoes.
All right, Slater, handle me.
The next time you call me, I'm going to see you.
I'll be waiting. You're not just another white spot to me. At night I tell you people, when that cold, cold sun goes down, I cry, I sigh, I wanna die, 'cause my baby's not around.
Something that moves my soul, and she knows I'd love to love her, but she lets me down every time. Can't make her mine. She's no one's lover tonight. With me she'll be so inviting. I want her all for myself. Oh, temptation eyes looking through my soul. With temptation eyes, you gotta love me tonight. Gotta love me, baby, yeah. Oh, well, our innocence is just a game, but just the same, my head is spinning. She's got a way to keep me on her side. It's just a ride. It's never ending tonight. With me she'll be so exciting. I want her all for myself. Oh, temptation eyes looking through my soul. The temptation eyes, you gotta love me tonight. Feel it now. Tonight with me she'll be so exciting. I want her all for myself. Oh, temptation eyes looking through my soul. Temptation eyes, you gotta love me tonight. Temptation eyes looking through my soul. Temptation eyes, come on, love me tonight.
30 with Tony Thursdays, 3 Eastern on Twitter.
Well, thanks, Kemosabe's. Thanks for staying with us. Today's story or today's joke is a life lesson. Never be deterred from your dreams. Think of Beethoven, the great classical composer. He was deaf. People told him because of that, he could never be a composer, but did he listen to them? If you're spiritual, you get it. Tony D'Angelo here at 30 with Tony. Thanks, Keem Wasabi. Thanks for staying with us. See me on the Lee Elsey Show, 7 a.m. Eastern, 94.9 News and Stimulating Talk, and on Rumble, and on Talk Red TV. Coming up. Thanks, everybody. God bless you. Have a great weekend. Stay safe, and we'll see you next week. We're going national. Bye now.
Your smile. Hello, hello. Shall we talk a while? Would you like some of my tangerine?